What is going on, guys? It is Daniel Wright, and you are here listening to another episode of Paving the Way. And man, I am super appreciative to have you here today. Guys, I hope whatever you got going on today, I hope it's fantastic. Hope you're looking forward to a good one, or hope you've had a great one, regardless of whether you're listening to this in the morning or in the evening or somewhere in between. Whatever it is going on in your life, I hope it's fantastic. Guys, today we're going to be talking. It's actually these little things that my wife gets me every year. These little calendars, like little rip-off calendars. And they got little sayings on them. Last year was one that had some we'll just call it what do they call it? Colorful words in it. So this year is a little bit more deep and things to think about and to consider. This one is relationship based today. I don't know what they're going to say every day when I show up and rip it off at the office and read the next day's one. But we're going to get into that. Obviously, the topic today is be nice, so it's going to be around that a little bit, and maybe like what it looks like to actually be nice to people. Some different ways that maybe people don't really think about of what's considered nice and what's not, and my perspective on being nice. Let's get started. All right, guys, welcome back. Hey, so we are going to go ahead and just get started by reading today's, whatever you want to call it, word of advice. So it's titled, Mostly Be Pals. Many people say my partner is my best friend, but most don't actually back up that statement with thoughts, feelings, and actions consistent with it. To the contrary, many individuals treat their partner with more jealousy, expectations, and demands, with less appreciation, respect, and sensitivity than they would a friend. Man, how many of us have been guilty of that? That we treat our friends, our peers, our employees, our employers, our random strangers that we meet every day out and about. How many of us would actually say that we probably treat those people with more respect, appreciation, love, grace, kindness than we do our own spouses or our own significant others? I've been guilty of it time and time again, right? There's days where, Kelsey and I, maybe we're at odds for whatever reason, and we're kind of going back and forth, and I have to go run to the grocery store, and I'm Mr. Polite to whoever, I'm holding the door for or talking to because they bump into me. Part of it's because, the realization of, hey, this person, this stranger or whatever it is, they didn't do anything wrong to me to put me in a bad mood or to be irritated. But nonetheless, the things that we would say, even in times of disagreement, right? If you're in a disagreement with that spouse or that significant other, compared to when you're in a disagreement with a friend, an acquaintance, like I said, a peer, anything like that, the way that you handle those are massively different. And this kind of goes back to something I've probably talked to about at some point, whether it's with a podcast with Kelsey on here or on my own. But I was given the advice by my grandparents. If you guys have been following my journey, you guys know my grandparents are somebody I really look up to for their business that they ran for, I think it was like 25-ish years, give or take a few maybe, that they worked together. Husband and wife, they worked together. They built this business up. They had a great team of people, had a massive impact on the lives that they were able to touch and just make a difference in their industry. But one of the pieces of advice that they gave me and Kelsey early on when we told them, hey, we're going to start working together, Kelsey's going to join the company, is they said, well, Daniel, they said, you as the owner, as the quote unquote boss of the company, they said, just be very careful how you talk to Kelsey. And I'm like, well, what the heck, man? Like I treat my wife great. Like, I'm not perfect, but like I treat her very well. I'm very respectful, so on and so forth. And they said, the way that you talk to your team at work is going to be massively different than the way you find yourself talking to your wife at work. And I'm like, there's no way. That's not going to happen, And it wasn't even probably a week or two into it when she was at the office, and I snapped at her about something silly that was probably no big deal, but it got my attention. I was like, this is what my grandparents were talking about. Like, if this was, to compare apples to apples, another female in the office, Amanda, our office manager, if this was her doing the same thing, I probably would have handled that with a little bit more grace. I probably would have been a little bit more respectful about that. And so it just got me thinking. I was like, man, I really have to be aware of this. And I don't know the psychological side behind it, right? There may be part of it that like comfort feeling that, oh, well, it's my wife or it's my sibling or it's my parent. Like they're not going anywhere. So I can say what I want and it's no big deal. But nonetheless, I think sometimes we take it for granted. And so like this post today said, it was, you're treating your friends oftentimes better than you would like your partner or your spouse. Now, what does it mean to like be nice to the spouse or to the partner? Well, everybody can have their own opinions of what nice is considered, but because you asked, I'll be happy to give you my opinion on what that looks like. I think being nice comes in a couple different forms. I think being nice is the stereotypical and the cliche stuff as far as, being respectful, being courteous, holding the door open, being thoughtful, remembering birthdays, anniversaries, things like that, right? That's all the stuff of being nice. Some of the perhaps unpopular opinions about being nice is, I think one of them that I try to do is I try to hold people accountable. If you ask Kelsey, I'm the type where, I try to do it with grace as often, as I can and as the best I know how to, but I try to hold her accountable with things, whether it's, nutrition, whether it's, our cooking at home or whatever it might be. Like we all know I'm not the type who likes to eat at home. I'd go out every night if I could, but if we have a conversation, say, hey, let's try and dial in our nutrition a little bit, eat at home a little bit more, and have a little bit more control over the stuff we're putting into our bodies. Well, I'm going to try to hold her accountable, and she's like, oh, but it's so nice. Let's go out to eat, blah, 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 which don't get me wrong. We go out to eat plenty and we enjoy the nice weather. So for all those who say I'm depriving my wife of going out to eat on a nice night, like hold it, because that's not the case. But nonetheless, holding someone accountable is a way of being nice because we're human, right? We want to give in to temptations. We want to give in to desires. We want to give in to the easy route, whatever it might be, but holding them accountable personally or professionally. Part of our leadership, part of what we're doing as a leadership team now, which a lot of other companies are doing it that I'm associated with, is kind of doing a little bit like a book club, reading some sort of a leadership development book, personal development book, kind of together. Some people finish it faster, move faster than others. Some people listen to it. Some people read it, whatever it might be. No big deal. But for Kelsey, that's something that she's not really ever been a massive fan of those types of books. So the way I hold her accountable is about every week before we have our weekly leadership meeting, we talk about it. I say, hey, so how's it going? How's the book going? And just asking those subtle questions to offer that level of accountability to somebody is a way of being nice. It's being there for them, looking out for them, and just holding to what they said that they wanted to do for themselves. Another way that I like to try and be nice to people is I like to try and set the standard, set the example, set the standard. Because me, somebody who is trying to strive and push and develop and just be the best version of myself that I can possibly be, well, that comes with having to set a standard for myself. Then when I try to tell other people about why it's great to aim to be the best version of yourself, to push yourself physically, push yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it might be, to push yourself for that. Well, if I'm not setting the example and I'm not setting the standard, then I'm either going to be a hypocrite if I'm telling people that they should do something that I'm not doing, or I can be the proof of why to do something that I'm suggesting that they do. So if I'm setting that standard for something that I believe in, then that to me is a version of being nice to people. You're holding them accountable for things. You're setting a standard for things that you're trying to show, hey, this is something that has really helped me. It's something that's provided me a lot of value. It's helped other people around me, whatever it might be. So those are a couple of ways that I'm nice, to Kelsey that are a little more unconventional. So I think sometimes we overcomplicate it about what it means to actually be nice. And this, like I said, the title of today's, excerpt, I guess you want to call it, is mostly be pals. Like just like treat people how you'd want to be treated if you were their friend. Oftentimes we talk to ourselves harsher than what we would a friend. We talk to our spouse harsher than we would a friend, a family member, things like that. The people that we know or that we believe isn't going to go anywhere regardless of what we say, what we do, things like that. We tend to take it for granted and we treat them in ways that we wouldn't other people. How do you think that makes them feel when they see you treating a peer, a friend, an acquaintance, a stranger nicer than you do them? These are the people that we're supposed to be, when it comes to a partner, a spouse, they're the people that we're supposed to be lifelong partners with. We go home with them every day. We sleep with them every night. Most people do. Some people sleep in different beds or rooms. That's kind of weird, but whatever. But we go home with them. We spend our time with them. We make memories with them. We build a life with them, but yet we treat them like we think that, we can just say whatever we want. We can do whatever we want. If we take this on a professional standpoint, right? What about how we treat our teams? How about the people who work at our companies? How about the people who work side by side with us every day? How are we treating them? Are we treating them like we want them there every day? Are we treating them like we value their time, their efforts, their talents, everything like that they're investing into our mission that we're trying to build in this company? Or are we treating them like, you're just a seat, you're just a number, right? We've all heard that, you're just a number at a company or whatever. How are we treating the people who are on our teams? I'm a big believer in that, respect is earned, trust is earned. You have to put in the time really to, really get that vetted, consistency that someone can count on you or whatever it might be. But nonetheless, guys, as leaders, if we're looking at how we treat our teams, are we treating them in a way that we would want to stay on our team if we were them? Because truthfully, there's a lot of times where we're probably not. We're probably being a little over aggressive about things. We're probably being a little rude about things. We're probably being short or disrespectful or whatever it might be. Don't get me wrong. Holding a standard, just like I said from a personal relationship, being nice in that way, holding a standard is absolutely necessary because it's our job as leaders to set and hold those standards because it's what makes us who we are. As long as, you have good moral, ethical reasons behind the standards that you're holding, I strongly suggest you continue to hold them. There's a saying on one of our whiteboards in here, Sal Frisella, who is the president of First Form. You guys have heard me talk about them. It's something along the lines of, it's not that I don't like you, it's that I expect more out of you than you expect out of yourself, and I will hold you accountable. To me, that is a version of being nice to somebody because you believe in them more than they believe in themselves. It's your job as the leader, as the person who's pulling it out of them, the best that you can pull out of them. It's your job to hold them accountable for living up to that standard, living up to that expectation. And everybody in life has a completely different standard, a different level, a different, capabilities than other people, right? We're all wired different. But it's your job to figure out how that person's wired, figure out where their strengths are, where they can really excel, what opportunities they have, and try to pull that out of them the best that you can. Because chances are, if it's up to them, they're not going to do it on their own. They have to have somebody else pulling for them, rooting for them, cheering them on. And that's your job as the leader. That's a way to be nice to your team. That's a way to be nice to your peers, is to hold them accountable for the expectations that you believe that they're capable of. And push them. Allow them to grow. Give them that opportunity. I think one of the things that we oftentimes get stuck in is, it's my way or the highway. If people don't do it the way I would do it, think about it the way I would think about it, say it the way I would say it, whatever it may be, then they're wrong. Depending on the circumstance, you may be right, but most of the time, you're wrong. We have to figure out where people are at in their lives, meet them where they're at, and then help them go where they want to go. That's a characteristic of a leader. It's a characteristic of a friend, a peer, a mentor, whatever it might be. But nonetheless, we have to make sure that we are taking account for how we're treating the people in our lives. Like I said, your spouse, your employee, your peer who sits next to you every day at work, how are we treating them? Because if we're not treating them in a way that we would want to be treated, the old golden rule, we learned that when we were all 5 years old, treat others the way you want to be treated. If we were to listen to a playback of how we interacted with the people around us that mean the most to us on a day-to-day basis, what do you think that would sound like? Would you be proud of yourself or would you be embarrassed of yourself? Would you be offering apologies or would you be teaching other people how to do it? Because I can tell you right now, me personally, I have many days where I would be offering apologies. It happens regularly. I'm human. I'm not perfect by any means, but damn, I sure try. I sure really aim to treat people well. Are there times where, like on the last episode, I was talking about being wired hot? Are there times where that gets the best of me? You bet your ass it is. I get fired up. I get dialed in. I drill down on something, whatever it might be. And there's times where I talk without thinking, just like we all do, especially us men. But nonetheless, I strive to just be nice to the people that I'm around. I was fortunate at the last top contractor school retreat to receive an award. I received the MVP award for the year, and it's a voted on award. It's the board of directors, they talk about it. Brian Hess and Keith Jr. They discuss it. So it's not something like I checked boxes and was able to win an award. But when they were presenting it, one of the things that really stuck out to me, and I've kind of owned it because I don't disagree with it at all, is they said, if you're looking for a real good friend and not a feel good friend, this is your guy. And it's because I hold people accountable. It's because I tell people the truth. It's because I try to push people to be the best versions of themselves. So let me ask you, are you a real good friend or are you a feel good friend? Because if you're a feel good friend, you may come across as nice. You may come across as easy to get along with. You may come across as the guy that everybody wants to hang out with. But are you really a real good friend if you're not willing to have hard conversations, to hold people accountable, to set the standards, raise the bars, and push people to be the best versions of themselves? Probably not. So, summarize all this. Husbands, wives, spouses, partners, whatever you want to call each other, be nice to each other. Treat each other how you want to be treated. Whether you work with your spouse in the workplace or whether you don't, where you have two different work lives, be nice to each other. Be appreciative. Say thank you every now and then for the simple things. Taking out the trash, doing the laundry, cooking dinner, whatever it might be, just say thank you. Everybody wants to feel appreciated. So if you're talking about, in the workplace, your peers, your employees, your employers, whatever it might be nice. Everybody's got things they're going through. Everybody has challenges they're facing. More often than not, I believe that people are giving it their best. So just be nice. Offer grace when it's not always easy. Have conversations when you don't feel like you have the time. Check in on people, how their personal lives are going. Whatever the case may be, just be nice to them. And then on the other side of it, when you're talking about being friends and holding people accountable, being a leader, whatever it might be, have the hard conversations. Get real with people. Get deep into the conversations, not the surface level. Oh, how was the weather last weekend? Oh, did you enjoy your round of golf, or did you enjoy the concerts you went to? Like, get deep with them. Talk about life. Learn about their dreams, their aspirations, what's holding them back, what their fears are, what they're pushing for. Because chances are they just need a little nudge from somebody like you to make it happen. So that's all I got for you guys. It's a very simple message today. Be nice. The world needs more of it. I look forward to seeing you guys next time.